Welcome to Talk Dirt to Me, where two farmers shatter myths and take on the top issues facing America's farmers. Here's your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, another good evening. One we've been looking forward to seemingly, I don't know, it's been a while, Taylor, hadn't it, since we first kind of made contact and said, yeah, we'd like to have you on.
Yeah, it's been a little while. You know, we had the holidays and some phone tag, but I'm happy to be on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one we have been looking forward to for a while.
Yeah, man, for sure. And we love our guest episodes. And you guys, I think, are in for a real treat. We got a guy with an awesome story on here today. Done a lot of awesome things in his life, and something a lot of people probably dream about doing. He's done it. So before you get to hear what that is, first we got to give a shout out to our buddies over at Ag Zaga. Bobby Lee and I both got the hats on tonight. Go check them out. Use that code, Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word.
Yep, take your 10% off. No sense in paying full price. Check out all the good deals. Bailnet Wrap's always going to be their bread and butter, but all the other good stuff, all the baler parts, water hose, I mean, you name it. Just check them out. Use the discount code.
Yep, do it. And also, guys, we still are going to give you a little hell. We need them ratings and reviews. Spotify still kicking ass. Apple's lagging behind. I know, and I see you guys. I see the downloads, and I know that you're not all leaving ratings and reviews. So, guys, leave us a rating and review. And like I said, send it out. Share this episode with your friends, and just pass it along, and that helps us tremendously. So, who we got with us today here?
Yeah. Give us. Of course, I know we could talk for. You and I said this in email. Like we could go 2 or 3 hours just talking about your backstory. But we obviously have a lot of other things and topics we want to hit on. But definitely, because a lot of our audience that maybe hasn't heard you, or follow you on social media. Tell us who you are. Who is Taylor Moyer?
Hey, hold on. I got a good question to lead you into this.
All right, let's go.
Which movie is more inspiring for your past career or your career? Days of Thunder or Ricky Bobby? Which one just really fires you up the most?
So no joke, my little brother, his name is Cole, because my parents did not have a name for him. 1991, Cole Trickle, baby.
Cole Trickle. I was going to ask, is his middle name Trickle?
Nope.
That's awesome. So you're going to go with Days of Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's a good movie, man.
I love Talladega Nights, but Days of Thunder, oh, man.
That's a good. I got to watch it. It's been a long time since I've watched that movie.
Yep.
That's a good one. Bobby Lee has seen it, so it's like monumental. He's seen about 7 movies.
It's one of a couple that I've seen.
That's early Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, man. Yeah, she was built for speed back then. Yeah, she was good. Yep.
I actually have that one on DVD.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you had a poster of Nicole Kidman or something.
No Nicole Kidman posters. But I remember when I was in vet school, this was, it wasn't even Blu-ray, it was just regular DVDs. I had Tombstone and Days of Thunder.
So did you watch the shit out of them?
Yeah. Those are the 2 DVDs I had.
Great movies, both of them. Yeah, great movies. Well, awesome, man. Well, that should kind of give people an idea. Now give us the run of what you've been doing in your life.
In my life, well, I was born and raised on a apple orchard and beef cattle farm. And if you go back, let's go backwards. So previous to that, my mom is from a big orchard, which is still in existence and very vibrant. My cousins run it now in Freehold, New Jersey. That's Battleview Orchards. My great-grandfather started that in 1906. And cool little fact, he was that great-grandfather, Leslie Norman Applegate. He was the first ever national president of FFA.
Really?
Yeah. So I always thought that was cool. And then my dad's side is a big dairy farm in Virginia, Okmulgee Dairy. My great-grandpa started that in 1895. Cousins still own and operate it. At Thanksgiving this year, I know this. I know my child will be my grandmother's 12th great-grandbaby, and there was 11 running around at Thanksgiving this year. So big, beautiful family. Yeah, 5th generation. Both farms are 5th generation now, which is really neat. But anyway, Mom and Dad met at Virginia Tech. They ran away to Vermont, which is cool. Not many people think of Vermont as a big agriculture community, but the western side of the state, right up against Lake Champlain, is just this beautiful valley, very fertile. like slate gray clay, very, very nutrient dense.
Yeah.
And it's big dairy farming and apple country. That's what it is. And then how my dad got the idea to run yearling beef cattle, who knows? But, he'd get them all. He'd buy a bunch of, truckloads of calves off of all of his old fraternity brothers from Virginia Tech all through the Shenandoah Valley, Virginia. And about the time that the snow would melt or we get greening up, probably, I don't know, late April, early May, here'd come the potloads, and we would rotationally graze yearling cattle until September, till the grass cut off, and that was kind of our thing. So the apple orchard was when I was real young, and then the apple market kind of moved to Washington State, and my parents pushed out most of the trees, and we actually moved across town to the other farm. And most of my childhood, what I remember is being a straight polywire cowboy off of a Yamaha Moto 4 four-wheeler, putting up fiberglass posts. We would, we did all this stuff that seemed normal to me as a kid, and then looking back, I'm like, well, that was weird, but it's kind of normal for me now. Let's see, what else? We would train all the yearlings to a bell. That's how we'd move them. So little brother would go stand on the fence post and ring a bell. Here'd come 400, 500, 600 yearlings.
Man, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it was neat. My dad had actually got to see Temple Grandin speak somewhere, and he built the place we had was an old dairy farm, and the heifer barn, they tore out everything, and then they built a pretty nice working facility. So a lot of those low stress handling techniques were just kind of, as low as working with your dad can be. It was just kind of ingrained in me. But rightfully so. I was just a farm kid who loved mechanical things. I can't say I was talented mechanically, but had a passion for just building stuff to go fast and, go further. And I was always
you had the need, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had that need for speed. You just got to answer it when that call comes,
Well, I thought he was going to give the Ricky Bobby because he's like, I just want to go fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of funny. I really enjoyed riding stuff with handlebars, snowmobiles, four-wheelers, dirt bikes. My best friend drove a dirt sprint car, and I loved to build those things, and I never had a ton of desire to race. But the fun part for me was the metal fabrication.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I got out of high school, about 8th grade, I decided I was going to go into racing professionally. Never thought I'd farm again. Farming is what I had to do. It's what we were. It's what I did for a job all up and down the road for the different neighbors, So, packed my shit and moved to Charlotte, North Carolina the day after I graduated high school. Did 4.5 years of engineering school while I was working full-time. Worked my way into a bunch of race teams. I did a 10-year career at Hendrick Motorsports. Have a cool past there, and then in 2019 got promoted to crew chief at Junior Motorsports, and I did 5 years as a crew chief in the Xfinity Series for Junior Motorsports. Won some races, sat on some poles, did a bunch of cool stuff, and then in 2023 when the checkered flag flew at Phoenix, I retired. I quit racing, I guess I'd say. I'm not kicking it on a golf course every day, but I stopped making racing my profession, and I transitioned back to where I'm at now, which is my farm, which I had bought in 2018. And it was a labor of love. I bought an old abandoned piece of property, and I had been fixing it up and building the herd and building a business model and doing a lot of getting some type of education, not through the university system, but educating myself in how I wanted to, build a profitable business. And then eventually I felt like I needed to burn the ships, and the timing was right, and I jumped. And now we're a year in, and we're still here. We made money, which is great. We built our herd. We feel like we made a lot of progress. I mean, we definitely got helped and saved this year by a rising cattle market, and it made some of our mistakes. They weren't such bad mistakes, but as long as I'm cognizant of that fact, that's okay. And we had good rain, but it was a good first year, and we're ready to rock on year 2 now.
What on the racing? So was that a hard decision to go back? Because look, I'm very similar in the aspect that when I was a teenager, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I was like, I don't know, but I'm not going to be a farmer. Because like I said, I was made to do that, so I didn't want to do that. And so it's funny whenever I kind of made the decision, like, well, I got to get back on the farm. What kind of why did you feel that need?
The first big thing was I moved from a really rural place where I had a lot of freedom, and then I moved to the metropolis of Charlotte, and I about dropped out of college freshman year. I was such culture shock.
Yeah.
And I had driven. If you go east of Charlotte and drive 3 hours, you end up in the beach, Myrtle Beach, that area. And I had went with some friends east of Charlotte, and we got about an hour east, and I got into the next county over, and got into a part of the country, and I was like, damn, that looks like home. There's cows and a lot of chicken houses, big poultry producing county, but rolling hills, clay soils, fescue grass, orchard grass. I'm like, hey,
Yep.
okay, now we're jamming. And when I graduated college, I just moved out to that. I just literally moved out there where I remembered and bought a house to just get my life normal at home so I could, racing's so hectic. It's a professional sport. You just high pressure. So I knew pretty quick that I at least needed rural communities back in my life. And then I've always been pretty entrepreneurial. From 2015 through 2019, while I was racing, I had started an e-commerce business, which me and my little brother ran. It was fun, but I've always been pretty financially minded, and I actually see agriculture and farming as a really good wealth building vessel, if done right and if done a certain way, and that had kind of been my goal, as well as I love physical labor. I know that seems kind of sick, but even when I was racing, this farm was kind of my my therapy. Come fix an old fence or restore the barn, which I'm sitting in now, was my time to just, put my brain on a one track of, get this wall up or get this barbed wire back tight. That just kind of morphed into a lot of things for me, but I don't know when it clicked, and it wasn't a hard decision. I feel more right with myself now than I ever have, probably. So,
Yeah.
Do you still talk to any of your old racing buddies?
oh yeah, I've still got plenty of friends in racing. Yeah, I mean, I talk to them all the time. I'm still loosely involved. My wife is still loosely involved. It's not something that's ever gonna leave you. We still live all around it.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my former drivers today. It's just those are relationships. The reason I loved racing, honestly, I was a team sports guy too. And when I first got on, the first year I traveled full time, 2015 with Casey Kane, we had 18 guys on our team, and that did not include PR or marketing or all the administrative people that came. That was just my road crew. That didn't even include the pit crew. So I love the team aspect and the camaraderie. So I'm very close to a lot of those people that I was on great teams with. And that was one of the reasons I kind of shied away from the sport. The sport's changed a lot, and there's not big teams of people anymore. And it doesn't really take a road crew of guys to that scale. In fact, the last team that I ran, we had 5 guys, including me and the truck driver.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just you don't need the people anymore, so you don't have that as much camaraderie. But still close to a lot of those guys and still close to the sport.
Is the reason why they cut the teams back because, man, like I grew up watching NASCAR with my dad, and now it's funny. Bobby Lee and I, we were opposing teams on the NASCAR world. He was an Earnhardt guys. I'm Jeff Gordon. I was always a Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, and so. But I remember, man, I still love the pre-restrictor plate days. It was like the Outlaws, man. I mean, and is that the shift in the teams where it's like, you needed a team to really, because you could hone all these things and change. I feel like now the cars are they just damn near the same?
Yeah, and there's not very. When I first entered the sport, teams were huge. Hendrick Motorsports was 700 plus people, and there was teams of people to work on the car. Meaning, like when we would build the chassis, I worked in the chassis shop for a while. There would be a team of 4 guys to assemble a chassis, and then the car would go to the body shop, and it was another team of 4 guys that would assemble, craft this body. And then you had a team of mechanics that were your shop mechanics. Then you had the road crew, and it was very much this personnel heavy. And people were worth a lot of money because the knowledge is in your head. The sport changed. And again, I'm not downing the sport. I think probably the business model had to change because the budgets were getting out of control. But they wanted more, constraints on the budget. So testing went away. That's when teams cut down a bunch. And then the cars kept getting more and more restricted to where now you buy every piece from a manufacturer. You don't build anything. You buy them all from all these pieces from manufacturers, and you just assemble them. And then the thing that really killed the team aspect was COVID. Actually, we used to, we used to go to the track and we'd have 3, 4, 5 practice sessions and a qualifying session, and it took a super skilled team of mechanics to literally come in and swap maybe a rear gear and a front spring and a shock and put some rounds of wedge in as fast as you could so you get as many laps on track during practice. So it was like, orchestrated ballet chaos. It was awesome. In fact, a lot of people close to me would rather, when I'd bring them to the racetrack, they'd rather be there for practice to watch that than like the race.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. If you like mechanics, it is amazing what some of these teams could accomplish in tiny amounts of time.
Yeah.
When COVID happened,
you cuss parts on. That's how I put them on.
Yeah, just cuss them on all the way and then smack them with a wrench.
Yep. A wrench or a big hammer.
I mean,
I got a big hammer.
Yeah, they're only going like 180, so if they hit the wall, it's not that big a deal.
That's right. Yeah.
But then during COVID, I'll give credit to NASCAR. They were the first professional sport to go back, and it became run what you brung. So we would just take them out of the truck, push them on the track, pill draw for qualifying, and then we'd race.
Yeah.
And what I think everybody figured out was the quality of racing was no different. So you just cut your budget down by 75% for not having people at the track as long, for not having to carry, our semis used to roll, and you could assemble 3 race cars worth of parts we had. We had 2 cars in them and, just crazy amounts. And we had full pit boxes and technology to do all this stuff and 18 guys on a team. And what they realized was the product to the fans, this is my belief, the product to the fans is the same. The guys that are good run in the front. The guys that aren't run in the back. Like, doesn't really matter. So now the way it is, even after COVID, we cut our rosters way down, and our practices were much less involved, and the only things we could change in practice were the same adjustments we could make in the race. So round of wedge, air pressure, track bar, So yeah, this sport just changed, and that's fine. Things have to evolve and change to survive. But I really enjoyed the fabrication of the cars, the building, the creativity, the cheating my tail off. That was what was fun, and the teamwork, and those things aren't really around anymore. So yeah. That makes sense, man.
Before we get into the ag stuff, I got to ask who is a better driver in your opinion, Dale Earnhardt Jr. or Jeff Gordon?
Oh, well, Dale drove for me for. I worked for him for 5 years, and he drove for me for 4 races.
But you were with Hendricks too, there.
Yeah, I was. I'm gonna go Dale. No,
really?
Well,
I feel like it's some home cooking there.
Yeah, it could be. Well, he's a friend, so there's that.
I'm not hating on Dale. I'm not hating on him.
I was at Hendrick when Jeff was there, and I did a little testing with him, but he was one of the few Hendrick drivers that I was never on his team. I worked with Jimmy a lot and Dale a lot, and Casey, and then William Byron. But yeah, I don't know Jeff that well, so I'll choose Dale.
Is Dale a pretty down-to-earth guy?
Yes, Dale would sit right next to me like you and Bobby Lee are, butt to butt, and have a drink with us and shoot the shit.
He strikes me as that guy. Like, I feel like he would be a cool dude to have a drink with.
He's a T-shirt and blue jeans guy, and his favorite thing in life is a drink and good conversation.
Well, he would fit right in.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, he would. Well, all right. I know we got to get into the ag stuff. I could talk to you this stuff because I came from a metal. I was a machinist for a few years,
so
like that metal. I like working with metal. I like the same stuff, and if I had the money, I'd have a badass car. I've always wanted an old muscle car. I just ain't got the funds to have one. But one of these days, I keep telling myself. So you make the transition out of racing. Kind of how'd you do it? What was the first year like after that? Did people tell you were making a mistake?
Everybody in racing congratulated me, which is telling. Everybody, I mean, on all levels, were like, "We're really proud of you for getting out. I can't believe you're doing it. You're getting out." I think that was one of my fears, was the older I got and the longer I only raced, the more I'd pigeonhole myself into only racing. And you do see guys. There's one thing I've been blessed with in life. I'm pretty observant, and I know a lot of older guys who they have their glory days on the road, and then they spend the rest of their years like in the back of a shop as this like the grumpy old men armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And some really influential people in my life always told me it's not how much money you make, it's what you do with it when you make it. And those are the guys who burned through it all, and they just had to work till retirement age in the back of a race shop, and they couldn't apply their skills outside of racing. So I had been applying my skills towards building this business, and I had actually been going to some of that education when I had time during my racing career. For instance, we raced Portland in the Xfinity Series on the road course for the first time, and then we had 2 weeks off. And there was a Ranching for Profit school, which I'd wanted to go to for a while, but my schedule never lined up. And there happened to be one in Billings, Montana. And I'm like looking at a map, and I was like, holy shit. And I just told my trucker, I was like, hey, I'm not going to fly home from Portland. I'm going to jump in the side door of the Pete with you and just wake me up in 16 hours and throw me out on the side of the road. And he's like, okay. So that's what we did. I pulled in the Ranching for Profit in 2022 in my race uniform with my race semi, and they threw my stuff out on the side, and I tromped over to the convention center, and I went to Ranching for Profit for 7 days.
I was hoping you were going to say, I was like, hey, man, let me drop one of these cars out. I'm going to get there. It's a 16-hour drive. I plan on being there at 8. I'll be back in the morning.
No. But
that's Ranching for Profit. Is that good? I've heard of that. I've never. Is it? Would you recommend it?
100,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I don't have any ag education through the university system. I have a mechanical engineering degree, right? And then I just recently completed a financial certification through Farm Credit. But a lot of people that I know that have went through Standard University has said that Ranching for Profit's kind of like getting an MBA in 7 days. I mean, they feed you with a fire hose. You don't bring your phones into class. You show up in the morning, you work all night, you go get some dinner, you come back after dinner. And most people go multiple times. Like the first time, you just go home and you can't take it all in. And then you're allowed to go back for just the cost of basically the room and board at the hotel. And a lot of people go many times. And a lot of people will join a thing. After you go through once, you can join something called Executive Link, which is they will pair you up with other farmers and ranchers throughout the U.S., and you're a contemporary group, and you are each other's board of directors, basically, and you're beholden to each other, and which is neat because then you have some accountability to get your financials done, and a lot of people have a lot of success with that. So I went a little bit different route, but I'm still very involved with all the people that I went to Ranching for Profit with. It opened me up to a big network of people I wouldn't have otherwise had access to. So.
Yeah.
Well, and I know you said, was it 2018 was when you bought your farm?
Yeah. Yep.
So, then you kept racing until 2023.
Yep.
Were you running cows already before you totally got out?
Yeah. So my plan was to have my herd built up a good bit, and figure out, have some managerial numbers, have some basic business costs figured out or halfway figured out before I jumped. So I had been building up my herd. When I bought my farm in 2018, there was actually the farmyards and everything were abandoned, but the pastures had been rented out for years to a family that I knew. So I allowed them to stay, and I got some rental income. And then the deal was kind of I was very forthcoming of I want to build a herd, but I'm not in any rush to do it. So we'll build slowly, and that's kind of what we did. I bought one cow, and then I bought some heifers off of them who had been born here, and I just kind of kept adding to my herd, and we kind of ran, I don't know what the proper term is, we ran a herd together as one until we both got to the size where it didn't make sense anymore. They didn't have enough cows here that really made sense, and I needed to have more cows here. So yeah, I had a good little herd started. I had plans, when I started to figure out middle of 2023, all right, here's my plans to scale when I get out. If you look at the markets, they certainly shot up by the time I got out.
Yeah.
So I pivoted a bit, but I'm glad I did because I've been pretty proud of myself for scaling during this up market and not in a crazy way. I've had to get pretty creative on how I did it, but it's worked. So I'm thinking I'm going to keep doing it again next year because we have scaled, but we have a pretty cool mix of owned cattle, and then we run a bunch of custom cattle too. So,
Do y'all? How many? I mean, your area, I guess, pasture-wise, probably pretty similar to ours, I would think, as far as how many head you can run. How many head can you run per acre where you're at?
I think county average. That's a funny question when people ask that because I think the true answer should be head per acre and days you feed hay. But I'm pretty sure the county average is probably 2 acres per head, and then most people feed hay for probably 90 to 120 days.
Yeah,
that would be probably something right in there.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, that probably 2 acres per pair, and then I don't know. I'd say at least 120 days for most people feeding hay around here.
Yeah.
What's your precipitation? Y'all get a good bit of rain as well, don't you?
So 46 inches is average, and we got we ended up with 63 inches last year. But yeah, 40.
Yeah, we're birds of a feather, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't get that much this year, but we're about 56 inches annually.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're primarily at one time Union County, North Carolina was the second biggest poultry producing county in the nation. We still have a bunch of chickens and turkeys. I don't know where we rank, but a lot of row cropping. And then I'm kind of up in the northeastern corner, which we have some rolling hills. And I mean, the reason I could buy this place was because it was a little bit too hilly for most row croppers. So they didn't, which worked out well for me. But
that is exactly where I found my niche around here. All the cattle in Tennessee, and I say all of them, majority, because Tennessee is a pretty big cow-calf state, and a little bit of a stocker background, but they're all in middle and east Tennessee, where it's much less conducive to row cropping, and we're right here on the banks of the Mississippi River, in the Delta, but there's still enough hills around, and nobody wants to buy that ground, and so
we need to fence off some river bottom ground and run cattle on it.
Yeah,
people would think we're lunatics.
And then every 3 or 4 years when the river
have to redo
goes on a rampage, you have to replace every single inch of it.
It's funny, man, because I'm just, I'm a row cropper. That's where I come from, which we always poke fun at each other because, he's on the cattle. But row cropping is insanely not profitable right now. It's just not profitable. And the cattle is. And that's
we appreciate the cheap commodities.
I'm sure you do. But that's what I've been talking. I've talked to Bobby Lee a lot and been thinking. I mean, dude, the cattle thing. It's a great market right now, but it's a bad time to be buying cattle. People wanting to get into it.
I mean, what you're saying, buy high, sell low, never works.
Yes. No. Hey, that's how we do it in row crop. I mean, it has not panned out well for the last couple of years.
Cattle are funny to me in that people I've seen really, really sound businessmen when it comes to cattle just forget every bit of business sense they've ever had in their life and make terribly poor decisions. I mean, I go to some of these red cow sales and I'm like, that cow, she's only worth X in hamburger. Like, why are you paying 4 times that? She's not anything special. She could be worth $1,000 tomorrow. But
is it a thing where they buy it so their neighbor don't? Because I tell you, that's the row crop mentality. There's guys that will pay a fortune per acre for the land, to rent it. Let's say the ground's worth $110 an acre rent.
Yeah.
There's guys around here that will happily pay damn near $300 an acre rent just to keep the other guy from getting it. Maybe that's the same way this guy's thinking. He's like, I'm going to buy this thing just to stop the next guy from getting it.
Maybe. Well, that's actually kind of my niche on my cow-calf side is trying to produce what people want to buy around here. And because I try not to get attached to my cattle, and just when the prices are up and people want them, let them go.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Program you can apply for. You get cost share on all sorts of things. You can get money to buy heifers, bred heifers. They have to meet all these certain qualifications, which is all really good. They had a couple of sales that were specifically designed for them, and I would go to them, and my God, they were so high. I was trying to buy them. I was willing to overpay, and I still couldn't buy any. So I was like, all right. My brother and I bought some registered Herefords. We're gonna get these suckers bred, and we're gonna take them to the sale. This ain't a buyer's market. This is a seller's market. We got up there, and every year it had always been standing room only. You couldn't even pack another person in there. There were empty bleachers everywhere. It's like, you kidding me? We brought our heifers back home.
That's funny.
But, so yeah, I don't know. It seems like everything kind of go like that. But yeah, some of those bred cattle sales and we were messing with a few registered cattle for a little while. Yeah, some of that stuff, I quickly figured out, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. I can't. You don't know what money is real and what isn't at some of those sales. Like,
that is certainly true. I have some registered cattle, and I about don't even keep up with the paperwork anymore, because you go to some of those sales and you're like, nah, that guy's buying on a credit. Like, nobody's really spending that. No. There's no cash briefcase coming in with $56,000, and I don't think he's writing a check for those. It just seems a little fishy. So I just try to play.
They got a deal worked out. They're gonna, something of some kind. But I think I'd have to look. I've still got a few registered Herefords, but I was the same way. I was like, I'm not. I was getting birth weights and doing some of that to keep up with all the data there for a little while. Then I was like, all right, yeah. I wasn't part of that game.
Yeah.
What is the direction you're wanting to go with your cattle? I mean, I know some people do background, they stocker steers and all these. What's your goal?
Oh man, we got it pretty ironed out. We have 3 different cattle enterprises that kind of all complement each other. And we did a bunch of kind of tests last year on making different turns of cattle, and I'll give you my results. So the foundation is kind of our spring calving cow-calf herd, which we're different than a lot of folks. Most people around here are fall calving. So that allows me to buy like late bred fall calvers and then try them at my place. And I actually don't buy many heifers that, just there's too much risk on a heifer to me, right? Like, I'm not going to be out there checking them every hour at night. I like cows that can get it done, easy keepers, and that's kind of the way my herd was built since I was on the road racing anyway. So we're spring cow calving. Like I was saying, we can add to our herd on a pretty good price, because we can take a late bred fall cow or an open fall cow and see if she'll breed for our spring herd for pretty cheap. Rightfully so. Anything that falls out of my herd, I know it's the cheapest time at all to carry it through the summer, and then I can rebreed it and sell it as a bred fall cow. And they're usually butterball fat and black and slick, and they sell really well. So I can sell my cow cows, for a premium. And I'm upfront with people, that people know I'm a spring cow calving herd. I'm not pulling a Houdini on anybody. I'm like, hey, she didn't work out in my spring herd, but now she's 300 pounds more, and she's slick, and she's black, and she's bred, so somebody wants her. So that program's worked pretty well. And we sell all of our calves to a guy, or to another farm, who buys them after I wean them and straighten them out. And then those calves remain on our farm for another year, and we get paid to custom graze them on a per head per day basis.
Wow.
Yeah, so they sell direct to consumer, and their business grew to the point where they didn't, they outgrew their land, the amount of land they had. So it was cheaper for him to pay me to raise his cattle than it was for him to go buy more land. And
he didn't have to move them.
Exactly.
The first time there, yeah, that's great.
And you're providing all the labor and all.
Yep.
Checking them. Yeah.
But so, I don't know. Like, I tell you what. But so the cool part is that the business keeps growing so much that I can't. Every year I need more calves than I come out of my herd. So our third enterprise is I do what I call background cows, where I'll buy a lot of unweaned, unvaccinated herds from the country here. So somebody's got 10 head, 20 head, and rather than them take them to the sale barn, I'll go to their farm with my truck and trailer. We'll sort them. Actually, I'll bring them all here if they want. We'll run them all across the scales. I'll take what I want. I'll write them the same check, right? Based off the sale barn report from the week before. They don't have to pay commission. I take what I want out of there. If they would like, I'll haul everything else to the sale barn for them. In 45 days, if I vaccinate them, wean them, castrate them, in 45 days, I can either I'll turn around and sell anything that I do want. Anything I feel comfortable running in my herd, I'll sell to the same guy, and he'll custom graze them to supplement that business. And if not, I'll put them in load lots and run them to the sale barn. And at that time, I can put a premium tag in their ear since they're vaccinated, castrated, and weaned. So those are kind of my 3 cattle enterprises, and they all complement each other, pretty well. some of what I did on turns last year, though, that was pretty successful was I waited till the grass greened up, and then I went and bought a bunch of skinny pairs where the work was already done. The calf was already on the ground. I knew I needed X amount of calves in October. I actually had taken an LRP contract, and I purposely took one for more calves than I had born in my spring herd to force myself to scale. But at least I knew if the calf was alive in October, I was getting X amount. So it was like, it's kind of a safeguard. So then you have that in the back of your mind while you're going to buy pairs. And we're really good at growing grass, and we're really good at putting weight on cows here. It seems to be what we're good at. So every skinny pair I bought, of all of them I bought, I sold at the end of the year. I sold the calf to my custom grazer, and then I turned around and sold the cows, and that was pretty much pure profit, and that worked pretty well. And I think we'll try to do more of that this year. Through the summer, I'm sure you guys do the same thing. Through the summer, my grass kind of runs out of gas. If we don't plant summer annuals, it doesn't have a lot of nutritional value. Those cows still do really well on it, but like a growing yearling calf does not do as well. So I was doing some turns of those, and they were just running out of steam. They weren't gaining much in the summer. Yeah. So my plan this year is, turn every 45 to 60 days. When we do those turns, we just do them in the back pens here. And then from there, those cows go a couple directions. They can go back to the sale barn. They can go in my herd. They can go to my custom grazer. That keeps that and the custom grazing checks every month keep the cash flow up, which is super important for a young business. Cash flow kills. And then, we'll get the one bigger check off of the spring herd a year when we sell all those calves. But I just try to really study the relationships between the different classes of cattle, and then exactly how much, how many dollars and cents it takes to get between those relationships. That's all what that jargon is on that board back there, is numbers and relationships to know when there's a good opportunity and there's not. So,
how many head would you run? What's a comfortable number you could run right now in all of these methods here?
Ooh. I don't really know. So there's a couple of factors. There's a good problem is we doubled in size since last year, acreage wise, which is awesome. Yeah. And we just 2 weeks ago got the fence wrapped up, and we're grazing. We haven't fed hay yet this year. We're still grazing stockpile, which is nice. Cool. Yeah. Well, that just it was cool. When we landed on that piece of ground, I needed to fix some fence, and then it had just been stockpiling grass. So we've been marching through it. But we're bringing the cows back home Wednesday, actually. So I think I can run. I feel pretty comfortable that next year I could run 50 to 75 mama cows with calves at side, and then be at 30 to 40. That's kind of our goal, is to kill, or the way it works with my custom grazer is I graze them to, let's say, grass finished, and then they go to his house and they grain finish for 60 to 90 days. And we're trying to make sure that he has enough inventory to kill 3 a month. So I need to have 36-ish at all times, in my rotation, which is cool too, because, like a bunch of home raised calves, I wish they always grew within 50 pounds of each other, right? You'd have no shrink and slide, but it never happens that way. And I don't really actually want it to happen that way. I want some spread. So that's kind of how we do it. Every month when I invoice him, I go out and take pictures and, take pictures so he knows his cattle are alive. And I'm always keeping track of who's ready to go next. And since we rotationally graze, they're always coming through our sets of chutes somewhere, and we're peeling off 3 here and, sending them over to him. And it's just kind of this.
Is that what I ask you that specifically, just like for the guy, because we got a lot of people that listen that, they're always asking how they can get into farming. And I steer them away from row crop. And so the cattle, I'm like, there's still a good industry in the cattle and the beef. And I ask that being, with doing it the way you're doing, could a guy make a pretty good living off of that? Or do they, because I feel like often, Bobby Lee and I have talked about some guys, it could take you 500 head of cattle to really make a good living. What about what you're doing?
I think you can.
I don't want your number, I'm not asking, I'm not trying to get, but you get what I'm saying.
I think you can make it a lot more simple than I'm doing it and make a good living. And it's a straight Greg Judy model. It's lease cattle on leased land. Yeah. And you wouldn't be building any equity, but you'd be cash flowing a lot. So I just try to mix it up in that, if I just custom graze, I could probably make a lot more money per month. But I wouldn't be building any equity in my herd, So it's kind of a mix of how you want to. I view my herd kind of like you view a good mutual fund, right? But yeah, as far as getting into cattle, I think there's no better way than to find somebody like you, Logan, who needs to run cows on their row cropping ground, and then you take responsibility for those cows, so you don't have to get up in the middle of the night, and I do.
Yeah.
And then go find a mentor like, Bobby Lee, who's got cows but doesn't want to go put them in the middle of the night either, and try to make a mutually, beneficial relationship. It's going to take a little give on all parties until you get some experience. Like, there's always going to be a cost of tuition, but man, lease cattle on leased land, especially the way I see land values going and who's owning land and who's investing in land. Bill Gates ain't running any cattle. Those type of folks are buying land. They're going to want people farming them in some capacity. So,
yeah. Well, and you mentioned, the grazing cover crop, because we do have a fair bit of cover crop around here. I mean, the majority of our ag, land around here is row crop, and of course, cover crop's gotten to be really popular. Our, big issue is virtually none of that is fenced. In some parts of the country they graze corn stalks and everything's in square sections, and so everything's fenced. And because I look at it too, I'm like, man, there's a lot of forage out there in some of these places. I'm like, man, but I don't know. I see that as one barrier, just the infrastructure, getting it fenced. Are you going to trust just some temporary hot wire? And then
we talked about shit. I wouldn't sleep at night if I was relying on them two strands of hot wire.
I hear you. I do. And then I know people that are wildly successful with cattle that run them on, they don't use temporary wire. They have it down to a science, and they know exactly what it costs per foot, and it's like something stupid cheap. And they'll put in wood corners on a thing. They'll put in wood corners on a section, and then they'll put like 1 or 2 strands of like 14 gauge soft wire, not even high tensile. Pull it banjo string tight and some fiberglass posts, and then they've got somebody who's looking after those cattle. But granted, I know the people I know that do that are not in places where those cows can get out into a major highway or anything.
Yeah, I was about to say you're probably pretty similar to us. We're pretty densely populated, even out here where we are. But we're like an hour from Memphis, roughly. And so, but
I'm thinking about, like, I got one farm in particular that it looked like a pasture. Like, I had a beautiful cover crop on it, and I had like a great stand of wheat. Like, it would have been, that's what, when I saw, and actually it was an old dairy farm. They used to dairy farm it, and it's a pretty good chunk of ground, but like not terribly far from it is Highway 14, and traffic is a nightmare on Highway 14. And I'm like, man, that's the crap that I'd be worried about, because I love the idea, from a row crop side, dude, there's nothing better than grazing cover crop and letting those cattle go in, and the pea and the crap and all that. I mean, it's great for the ground, and they're just the phenomenal. I mean, it's phenomenal fertilizer for the ground, and so I'm all for it. Just the logistics is what I'm like. I don't know.
The other thing that worries me.
What about water?
And I don't know. Well, you could do that. Yeah, that's doable. But we're so wet through the winter.
Yeah.
And of course, rarely do we get cold enough and sustained cold. Where the ground's good, hard, and frozen. When I look at like the southern plains where they graze out a lot of wheat.
Yep.
Like, well, yeah, they don't get any rain. And they probably do get colder. But have you seen people have any issues with that, where it just gets so stinking muddy?
So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna find somebody like Logan. If y'all were closer, I would be putting my money where my mouth is right now.
I have a really good
friend
friend that's doing it right now.
Because
not far from here.
All it would take, I know roughly, if you gave me enough years of commitment, I would go put up. Number one, contractually, nothing would be done unless it was done on paper that says those cattle are my responsibility. No responsibility to the landowner. If you gave me a long enough contract and we knew that I could get enough grazing days for my program out of yours, I would go put up pretty good fence, enough so I could sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I think the way I'm going to do it around here is I love those freestanding panels, those ones that are built out of oil pipe. That's pretty much all we use.
Yeah.
I move them around with a tractor. You know, you can actually muscle them around with your own arms if you're big enough. But I think the way I would do it is we would just designate one corner to be the sacrifice area, maybe an acre or two. Box it in with freestanding panels. That's probably where you're going to put the water trough, and then it'd be my responsibility to, if there's a rain coming or something, it's going to get real nasty, feed some hay in there, pen the cows in there. And you just know as the landowner that, look, 2 acres of this is probably going to have to get disced up to get the ruts back out of it. It's probably going to be your most fertile 2 acres. I mean, being honest. But, I just think think there's a model of shared responsibility. Like, I know, it might be that you have to give me 5 years of grazing for me to make it worth my time and effort to put that fence up and put the thought into it. But, like, the way I see it, if y'all are similar to me climate-wise and grass-wise, the perfect model in my head would be my cows would go right behind the combines next door. When those combines roller, we'd be eating stalks and all that stuff because we're pretty humid, so those stalks don't maintain a lot of nutritional value for very long. They don't freeze. But that'll let all my pastures stockpile. And then as soon as we're done grazing those stalks, that'd be planting wheat, and we would be going back to the pastures to graze. And we would probably graze, I don't know, around here we'd probably graze 2 more months. That wheat would be tillered. The roots would be tillered. It'd be tall enough we could probably go graze wheat all the way up until you got to get off for insurance date or whatever. We wouldn't graze the wheat out, but, we can still pay you to graze the wheat, which would be awesome comparative. So when you pull in the field to harvest wheat, you're money ahead versus money behind. And then, maybe we have to have some emergency hay for January or whatever. But last year I turned out to graze February 13th. That's when it was here. Because I try to graze, when I start grazing, I try to go when the grass is just coming up so they're getting not just straight green flush, try to get their rumens adjusted. But I think that's the model. If me and a row cropper here were really in sync, he'd have to move his dates around a little bit. But if he could understand that, like, net, he would make more money adjusting his dates and taking a little bit of yield hit here and there, I think it can be done. I know it can be. It's done in other parts of this world. It just takes people that want it to work, I believe.
Well, that's what it. I mean, I've been very fascinated with that. I mean, I kind of consider myself somewhat of like the weirdo in the row cropping out here, because I cover crop a bunch of shit, and I cover crop stuff out of my own pocket, and no one out here hardly does that. We talk to the Griggs, they do, but in our area right here, I don't know that anyone else is cover cropping out of their own pocket. Because everybody else here, I told a story whenever I went up to NRCS and was getting into the cover crop program. I was asking a bunch of questions about the row crop. And the dude at NRCS was like, "You're legitimately intrigued by this." And I was like, "Yeah, I am. Why would I be up here otherwise?" And he said, "Man, everybody else just asks what's going to pay me the most money." And so they just do it for the money. Where it's stupid on the NRCS side is I asked them specifically, I said, if I do the program, and you can modify what you put down. So I could come up with my own blend as long as it meets the minimum percentages that I have to meet for them. So I could put my own blend out. But I asked him, I said, what if I wanted to graze that? And he said, man, they don't really want you to do that unless you wait until it's like, you got to wait a while. And I'm like, but that's stupid. If it's for truly soil conservation and building the ground up, they should encourage you to put livestock on it because it's literally, it's a further step in improving the soil. But that government bull crap, they don't want you to graze it until it has to get to like a certain height, and it's just stupid, man. They get stupid there.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, I based mine around the standard row cropping model, but I think there's people that with the cover crops, really crush it, because they'll be on some weird like row cropping cycles too, and they just really have it dialed in. I'm kind of blanking. Oh, yeah, Dale Strickler. You ever heard of that guy?
I don't know. The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's written some books. He's with he works for a big cover crop seed company, and then he runs cattle as well. And he's really got it dialed in. He wrote.
I'll look up what's his books?
Restoring Your Soil, Managing Pasture, and the Drought Resilient Farm.
I think I've heard the drought resistant. Dale Strickler.
Dale Strickler's his name. Yeah, he's been on some podcasts. The books are really cool. They're like coffee table books too. They've got great illustrations, and I don't know. He's one with cover crops. He is really tuned into planning a year-round quality. It's almost like he plants a TMR for his cattle, honestly. A standing TMR that then you don't harvest with any diesel fuel, and you just use your cows. And that's where I think like the true, when you can get all that and working together, there's some money to be made.
It just sucks that the cattle are so terrible for the environment doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, we've been looking for something to put carbon back in the ground. It's a shame they're not walking around with 4 legs mooing.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I know.
Been here since the beginning of time. Yeah.
Bobby Lee I'm sure you got some more pasture question because Bobby Lee's a grass man. He's not a cattleman. He's a grass man.
Well, no, that's kind of the way I always look at it. It's like I'm a grass farmer, and I'm just using cattle to try to turn it into something I can sell. But well, like you said, and one thing I've come to learn with kind of the stocker in her background is you get to about the end of June and that grass, like I say, it'll maintain a mama cow. It's kind of like our hay, a mama cow can just eat, mixed grass, average quality hay and do fine all winter, but those yearling calves ain't putting on any weight. And I think we had already decided, it may have been actually after I had listened to you on another podcast, but I think we're going to stock them because we're like, we get all that spring flush. You can't graze it, back. I mean,
can't keep up with it.
Yeah. And then you just think, oh my God, I got grass for days. And then they're putting on weight. And we've been keeping them till anywhere between September to November. And, I think they gain almost all their weight in the first 3 months. And then we're just hanging on to them for the rest of the year for nothing. And so my plan this year, if I, gun to my head right now, I'd say we're going to, and it looks like I'm in pretty good shape on hay right now, which is always dangerous to say, but, we're not even a month into winter, but, may start buying calves early. And then if I've got hay, if we do get a late snow or anything, and then try to dump them by the middle of the end of June, and then see what late summer and fall looks like on rainfall about what we want to do with that same pasture this fall.
Yeah, that wasn't me, but I think I heard the same podcast. There was a guy that he does a bunch of what he calls double stocking, where he ran the numbers of running twice the amount of cattle he'd run all summer. He ran in like 2 or 3 months, and he unloaded by the time the heat got there. And I think he had tracked it the summer before, and he'd done exactly what you said. Like, those cattle gained 95% of their weight in those 3 months, and they just maintained after that. And he's like, well, we run out of grass. We've done okay planting like sorghum Sudan grass and strip grazing through that, but that stuff's gotten expensive. And I don't know. With all that rain, we actually had a bunch of grass. And I do mess around with a refractometer and bricks test a little bit, but you can just tell with your eye. You're like, they're just holding on. They're not gaining anything. So we'll see. I'm going to try not to make that mistake next year.
Yeah, but I've been talking to another guy just through social media the last few days that they run a bunch of cattle. And he was making a point, as cheap as commodity feed is right now, especially relative to the price of these calves. He said, they'll push, 7 to 10 pounds of feed per head per day while they got them out on grass. And he said, and you can run twice as many and they'll still not eat as much as half, if you're only feeding, just enough feed to keep them coming to a feed bunk. And I was like, I kind of started doing some figuring on my feed cost all the way down to, the per head per day. If we were doing that, I was like, man, that might be right too. So I don't know. It's a little more labor intensive, because I don't have a feed truck,
Yeah.
I'm going to be toting a bunch of buckets of feed. But
I'm hoping Brazil is going to shit the bed, and then you ain't going to be able to do that because it's going to cost you your ass so much because our commodity prices are so high.
We love $4 corn.
I have been to a huge stocker operation in Montana where this guy rotationally grazes and supplements on pasture with grain every day, and I don't know exactly what the rate is, but I think that is the magic for those yearlings out there. Even as strong as that, short grass prairie is, they have some explosive weight gain. And it doesn't take much supplementation for them to just utilize that forage even that much. And I've kicked that around in my head because these cows that we custom graze, we just say pasture raised, and that's the relationship we have with this other farm that we raise for. We have a pretty good social media presence. Their customers can come here and take a tour with me through Landtrust, actually. So we're very open. We don't say they're grass fed. We're just pasture raised. These cows live in an open environment, which we have seen that is what the folks that buy our beef care about. They want a good eating experience, and they want these animals to not live in a feedlot. That's what the people of downtown Charlotte, where we sell our beef, care to see. So anyway, we have been playing around with a similar idea of like, man, how can I make this thing? I've got the metal fabrication mad scientist in my head a little bit. Like, how could I swap out like little feed buggies behind the 4-wheeler every day? We got enough old chicken, like 9-ton chicken, feed bins around here for dirt cheap you could stand up that they could fill. Could I make a little trolley system behind my 4-wheeler and drop off 4 little feed buggies, like those luggage carts at the airport, and bring the other 4 back, something like that might, if you could get it done cheap enough, it might work out.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's actually, that's one of the things we try to do on this show is we like to take on some of what we consider myths. And I listened to some of Joe Rogan. He just had my man Mel Gibson on there. I'm a big Mel fan, and but they get to, Joe eats up that grass-fed, grass-finished. He thinks it ain't proper beef if it ain't grass-fed, grass-finished. And that's because of guys like Will Harris and them with White Oak Pastures that he's had on. And they had good conversation. And Will, for what Will does well.
Yep.
But that's not the end-all, be-all of raising beef. And frankly, if I had my choice between grass-fed, grass-finished, or grass-fed, grain-finished, I actually want grain-finished because it's got a higher fat content, which we're assholes sometimes, and we'll say, technically, if you feed them corn, they're still grass finished because that's grass. But I think it's good to have the conversation and talk about that because people that are outside the industry, we make up an insanely small percentage of the population. And what's normal to us, you were saying early on in the show that, the way you were raised and grew up, it felt normal to you is very different from most people.
Yep. And
so a ton of people, they don't know. And Joe, a guy, and I'm not hating on Joe, but he has such a humongous platform. When he says these things, if 1% of the people believe him, hell, that's probably like 1 million people. And so, if guys that are actually on the ground doing the stuff that know it, that's why we got to talk about it. And I think it's good to talk about. And like you said, the people in your town, really and truthfully, they don't care as long as the cattle have a humane life. I feel like everybody, and that's what pisses me off when they kind of paint this broad stroke that cattlemen and farmers are abusing the animals. And it's like, man, dude, you that's your money right there. You don't want to abuse them. And I feel like most cattlemen, especially, hell, man, you love your animals. They're a product, but you love your animals. Like you take pride in your animals. And so you don't want to, we've talked about the CAFOs and, hey, I guess they got their place at some stuff, but that's not how I'd want to operate. And it doesn't sound like that's how you'd want to operate. And most buyers, I don't think, want to buy from that kind of an operation.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think there's room for, as long as consumers are buying $1 chicken nuggets, there's going to be chickens raised in confinement because that's how economics work. So there's room for it all. And I think consumers just need to vote with their food dollars. And I think it's our responsibility as producers to be honest with people. And I also think it's our responsibility to give the people as good an eating experience as they can as beef producers. So I don't care if you raise grain-finished beef or grass-finished beef. don't half-ass it. You know,
Yes.
if it's a vegetarian and it's the first time they've had beef in a while, well, it'll probably taste delicious. But
Yes.
you know what I mean? If somebody's for the first time going to buy direct-to-consumer beef or something from a farmer rather than the grocery store, you know, they've been raised on a grocery store piece of beef. If you have just bought somebody's cold cow at the sale barn and you just run it right to the slaughterhouse and you sell that as grass-finished, grass-fed beef and you're swindling somebody, well, you ruined it for me too and Bobby Lee. You know, you might have taken somebody that would want to come to us to buy beef, you send them back to the grocery store. So I don't know. I just think transparency to the consumer is a huge thing now, and I think rightfully so. I want to know what I eat. I want to be able to make the choice. I don't care what choice you make. Just give people the choice. So,
agreed.
Well, you mentioned Landtrust. I know we wanted to talk about that because that does intrigue me. It's got my gears turning on.
Oh yeah.
Because I love to go out west and hunt, and we've done all sorts of different stuff out there, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I hadn't never, well, I guess I just hadn't heard of it, enough, and then I'm like, well, how can I monetize that too? So yeah, tell us.
That's what I looked today.
Tell us what it is.
Yeah,
there's about 40. There was 43 listings in Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
I was looking today.
We have some great Tennessee listings. So Landtrust,
we need to add some to that.
We should. Man, there's no reason to not have a Landtrust listing. You can have a listing and just open your listing for one day a year. Landtrust is the Airbnb of outdoor recreation. So 5 years ago, our CEO, Nick DeCastro, he had moved out west to Montana, and let's say door knocking is just not quite a thing anymore in hunting. Not like it used to be 20 years ago. Even I'm 36. Even when I was a kid, there was still some door knocking, and it's just a different time and age. Right, wrong, indifferent. That's just the world we live in. So Nick started a company like most great companies are started. He just went and solved the problem. So he interviewed a bunch of ranchers. Hey, what would keep you from letting a stranger hunt on your land? And he went right through that list and solved all the problems. So from the top, Landtrust was started as a two-way marketplace for hunting and fishing out west. It is now turned into a two-way marketplace for all things outdoor recreation or anything a landowner, a farmer, or rancher would like to monetize on their land. I can't say sportsman anymore because we have plenty of people that use the service that are not hunters and fishermen. So when anybody would like to experience one of these Landtrust experiences, they're doing a person-to-person transaction through a secure platform, which is us, just like Airbnb or Uber or another marketplace. And what they're gaining is exclusivity or a lease for a day. Or in my case, actually, we do photography by the hour here. And what they're gaining when they book the rights to come have photography sessions on my farm is they book the right that they'll be the only photography session. They have access to whatever I deem them to have access for. So it's exactly that, and we're seeing that marketplace model more and more throughout the U.S. Right? There used to be taxi cabs, now there's Uber. There used to be hotels, now there's Airbnb. So it's just another choice. Like hunting specifically, there is certainly a place to use outfitters. If there's certain tags I'd ever draw in my lifetime, I'm going to go use an outfitter because that'll be the best chance to fulfill that tag. But I get a lot of fulfillment in doing things myself, and like the experience and the research is as much fun to me as the actual, the taking of an animal or the hunt. So, it's kind of like DIY private. And we have a ranch. We have ranches in eastern Montana that are 50,000 acres. You and 7 of your buddies couldn't see that whole place in a week if you tried. And we have everything from elk hunts to mule deer hunts to whitetail, antelope, gator hunts now, dove hunts, turkey hunts. And on the experience side, we have some extremely creative landowners. I actually don't offer hunting here. So we have a fourth enterprise on our farm, which we call agritourism. And that is how we bring people here, and we use Landtrust as the tool to do it securely, both liability-wise and financially, and not have weird people. But we do farm tours and photography because that's what fits in really well with our lifestyle.
Yeah.
We have some people that I saw we just have our first bow fishing listing in Kentucky that I'm super stoked to maybe go try myself, not far from y'all actually. Southern Kentucky, and in the summer, we have a botanical garden in Georgia. We have some archaeological hikes in Wyoming. I mean, we have horseback riding, sleigh riding. It's whatever people want to offer, whatever makes their piece of ground special. That's the experience they offer, and we're finding people that want to experience that with them.
Yeah, the agritourism thing is something I'm diving into, because we built a farm store, and that's my plan with it, is to kind of really push the agritourism world with that, because that's a huge booming industry right now. Like, I don't remember what the projected growth is, but it's got a pretty skyrocketing growth in agritourism. And I think it goes back to the fact that, like we said, so many people are out of farming.
Yep.
And so they want to get in. And yeah, the Landtrust thing is pretty neat, man. Like I said, I got on there and was looking and I noticed in Tennessee, I looked specifically in Tennessee, a lot of the same guys are really utilizing it. Like, it was, I guess, I don't know how much ground this one dude had, but there was a bunch in Pocahontas, Tennessee. And if I looked at the name of the guy, or the organization name or whatever, it was the same one on quite a few of them. And so I'm like, man, these dudes are probably making pretty good money. Like,
yeah.
This one organization's doing pretty well. And then you'd look down another one, and so the people that have started using it are obviously seeing that the juice is worth the squeeze, because they're using it a lot. And I was wondering, and I don't know with the way things are going in the row crop world, but do you think it'd be the potential for, like, let's say a landowner is like, man, I want my farm, I need to rent it out for farming. I got 150 acres, and I need a farmer. Do you think that'd be something they'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna list it up, 5-year lease, this throw price? Is that something you could see?
I don't know if we'll head that direction. I know there's other organizations that are similar to that, but even in our model, I think you have any sportsman has the option to lease something long term, but generally we stick with the trip model, whether it's day, week, weeks, seasons. But I don't know. I hate to say no, because you never know. The model is certainly evolving as people want to use us as a tool. I interview a lot of our landowners. I guess I should say that. Full disclosure, I work for the company now. I knew that I wanted to bring people onto my farm, but I didn't know how. I was like, I don't need to have to build a website or more of a website, and I don't need all this. How do I handle payments? Like, what am I get? Stripe credit card swiper, and then how do I market and all that stuff?
Yeah.
And like, Landtrust does that all for you. So it's truly like a turnkey tool for we can get into the financials, but for ridiculously cheap, in my opinion, for the value you get. And you don't have to add any overheads to your operation. Like you said it the best, people in agriculture are less than 2% of the nation. So there's 98%. Of that 98%, there's a pretty big percentage that are interested in what you do every day. Like, we'll even come to see you do your chores. I mean, we have people that pay to go to brandings out west, not participate, just watch. They've seen Yellowstone a couple times, so they want to see a branding.
Brand them. Could I charge them to brand them?
Yeah, you could probably charge. You find some people that think they're real tough.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'd do. When you were saying they could pay to hunt, I'm like, would they pay to hunt the most dangerous game? I'm an idiot. Sorry, that's where my brain goes.
Once they're branded, man, they can't leave.
That's right, they can't leave. Yeah, and I'll be like, sorry, you paid, buddy, but now you're stuck here.
That's funny.
The pay stops now. Dude, I think it's really interesting, and it had my gears turning, because I looked down the list, and it's not crazy prices. Like, there was a whitetail hunt in some part of Tennessee. It was $89 for like a day.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, really? There was another one. It was like $200, and they had some good pictures of deer on there. And I think back to, like, I've seen on Facebook some guys around here. They'll be like, man, I need a place to take my kid or something. Anybody know anywhere I could go? And when I was looking through that list, I'm like, hell, $200. You got 2 or 3 day hunt there. You could go hunt whitetail, take a kid, and
Yeah.
so I think it's a really neat thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of points you hit on that are pretty important. Number one is the landowners set all the pricing. Landowners have all control. We're just your business partner. And full disclosure, you're not signing up with us for any type of long-term obligation or contract. You can try it for one day, and you're like, nope, this isn't for me. That, and it's a straight revenue split, so we don't ever earn a dime until you earn money. So say it's $100 deer hunt, the split is 80-20. You're going to earn 80, we're going to earn 20, and that's how we get, paid back for our time and effort, and how we get paid back for all the insurance policies we carry. So since it's a two-way marketplace, those sportsmen sign up through us as well. So when they're signing up and making a user profile, they're signing terms of service, which indemnify you as a landowner non-liable. And then we carry liability insurance and property damage insurance and all that. But even when they sign up, we have their ID on file, we have their credit card on file, we ID verify the people. So we can't guarantee nothing's going to happen. And when that stuff happens, we handle it in person, which is pretty cool to find customer service like that. But we had a 4.99 out of 5-star rating from our landowners on 1,600 reviews last year. Sorry, 1,600 experiences. So we have a pretty good reputation.
Yeah, I'll say that's pretty good, especially amongst landowners.
Yeah.
Who could? Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, but
you could do like a. You could do, well, it'd be hard to schedule this. And so you could do like a prolapse repair and have people come in and they could pay you to repair or push it back in.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that I'm not even going to say. I want to say
what would you charge for that?
For them to watch?
No, for them to do it. If they were like, I want to push it back in there, what would you charge them?
I don't know, because part of me is like, well, they're never going to, I mean, if they've never done it, they're not going to get it done. And so then I've just got a dead cow. So
it's going to be pretty pricey.
Yeah, it's got to be at least enough to cover the cow.
Taylor, what's your professional opinion? How much
plus my pain in the ass of dealing with some asshole that doesn't know what they're doing that thinks they do.
I mean, you might. I wouldn't swing it that way, but maybe you could swing it as like a day of animal husbandry. Like this is how you work cows, and this is how you give shots. And
what I wanted to say was, it's been a while since I've had to deal with one, but now that you've made me say that,
it's coming.
Yeah,
it's coming. But, knock on wood, there. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it like the other point you'd hit on there is it's a really neat model for if you have children and you don't have children are first time hunters and you don't have a place, right? Public. There's so many people now on public land. That's maybe not the best place to have a good experience your first time hunting. So this is a controlled environment. In fact, I had a lady come out and dove hunt here. It wasn't open to the public. It was private. But this was her first time hunting, and I got to thinking while we were sitting there, like I sat with her the whole time. She had shot some skeet a little bit, but dove hunting can be intimidating. And I was like, man, if she had just unloaded it in one of these southern dove hunting fields where there's 30 dudes peppering each other across the field, she would have never come back. She shot one dove, happiest person you've ever seen in your life. And I was like, dang, yeah, that's a great tool for introducing folks, to hunting.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think, man, the more outside the box I think guys can think, like landowners and farmers, and if you have the land that's available, like I'm thinking of a buddy that I got right around here. He's got a killer lake on his place. Like you could rent out the fishing.
Yep.
And he's got horses, and I'm like, dude, you could give them an experience, like hell, do a day experience, working the farm with the horses. I mean, people will pay. I can just imagine some of the stuff people would pay to do. Yep. I've heard of crazy stuff people would pay to do.
Well, you're right. People will pay to do some wild stuff. You also don't have to make it include yourself as a landowner if you're comfortable with that. We have plenty of listings where, so when we build you out a listing, we spend a lot of time with you one-on-one to build this listing, which goes on our website. And we make sure we get all the instructions that you would want to give the person who's going to experience that listing. So let's say that's like a turkey hunt on the back 40, and you do not care to meet them in the morning or whatever. When they book, you're going to get a booking request, at which time you can look on your phone. You can look at that person's profile and see their reviews and ratings from other experiences. And And if you choose to accept the booking, when you hit accept, it's gonna ship them all that information, all the way down to a GPS pin of the gate you want them to park at, and an Onyx map with the property boundaries and clear instructions on where they're to be. If you do want them to meet you after their hunt in the barnyard at 10 o'clock, it's in there. Again, we leave all the decisions up to the landowner. And we want the landowner to be satisfied, and we work with you to make the price point so you'll make money, because we're not gonna get paid if you don't get paid. So your success is very much our top priority. But I mean, we're over 700 plus listings across 1.5 million acres in 42 states now. So people are taking it and really running with it. I don't have my stat pack for 2024, but in 2023, our top landowner did $73,000 in agritourism. That's like bring a kid home from college money. Well, it's a good salary to somebody.
Yeah, that is. Oh man, no, I'd love to see us turn that on agritourism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that'd be So, dude, that's where it sounds like just about as creative as you can get.
Yep.
The opportunities are there.
Yeah. If anybody's interested, just go to landtrust.com and you have the option to use the little chat bot or text us or call us, and you're gonna get real people, and we're probably gonna call you back and have a phone conversation. We're gonna answer any questions you have. It seems like it's too good to be true-ish, but it's a very cut and dry business model, and there's not really any games. I mean, all the way down to each state has generally its own wording within the state constitution or whatever state laws about agritourism. I mean,
yeah,
we go all the way down to we send you the correct signage if your state requires that sign to be posted on a gate. We truly work hard to make it as turnkey as possible, and we also pride ourselves, and we work almost exclusively with like production agriculture operations. No offense to your farm store or a pumpkin patch or a corn maze, but we're really good at working with the row cropper who's got some turkeys that him and his kids don't hunt, but they do hunt deer. So then they use Landtrust to make 10 grand in the spring, and they go to Disney World, right? Like that's a very achievable thing that people are doing with us. Our average turkey booking is $800. That's what people are spending to come hunt for 2-3 days.
Yeah. I'm usually too busy planting to go turkey hunting, so that would be pretty nice.
I said that about I said turkey specifically because that's the number one thing that most farmers and ranchers are too busy to hunt. And they might really enjoy deer hunting with their family, and we're just like, hey, try turkeys. And they're like, well, heck, I didn't even think of that. And the turkey guys spend some money, and turkey guys will travel to different states to experience hunts in different states. So that's a great one. I mean, we just added Osceola, so now we have the full Grand Slam. Is it Grand Slam? Yeah, Grand Slam. Yep. You can hunt with us if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Hey, on the turkeys and all the traveling, a guy we've duck hunted with a bunch. His outfitting business around DeWitt, Arkansas. He's killed a turkey in every state except Alaska.
Wow.
And Alaska has no wild turkeys.
Interesting.
But that's what he used to work in the rice industry, and then got a duck hunting, and now he even has an outfitting license in Canada now. So he duck hunts for like 6 months out of the year. But duck season's over. They're getting pits cleaned out and decoys picked up, and whatnot. And then he's full blown turkey hunting. It's crazy.
He should go.
I guess
Is he married?
Yeah, married with kids, but I mean, I guess because, and they do have turkeys there, but I mean, it's so wide open and just flat where they are. They always want, oh, y'all are from Tennessee, y'all got turkeys. I was like, man, we do, but really the turkeys are like the cows in Tennessee. There's more in Middle and East Tennessee than there are in West Tennessee. But he is a turkey hunting fanatic. Killed one in every state.
Dang, yeah,
except Alaska. Yeah.
We have a couple waterfowl. I say a couple. Like we've probably got, I don't know, 50 waterfowl properties, total. Yeah. But I am waiting. This is the perfect model for waterfowlers, right? Because I know you've experienced this, Bobby Lee. You book a hunt somewhere a year in advance. Or I experienced this. I book a hunt in Arkansas or Kansas or someplace a year in advance. It's the only slot that works for my schedule and the outfitter's schedule. And then it comes around and the weather's shit and there's no migration yet. And you're like, well, I'm going to go spend $3-4 grand to watch the sunrise with my buddies, which is still fun. But
Yeah.
we even like within Landtrust, there's a feature called Field Notes where landowners can post live updates. And for migratory waterfowl, what better than to, hey, the birds have showed up in Nebraska. There's Nebraska waterfowl properties. You guys could book. You could book now and get on the road and go hunt tomorrow, which is neat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's a
waterfowlers
good
will
point.
spend some money. That's where I wish I
Oh,
wish I
gosh.
had some duck hunting spots on some of the plate, because I don't have any spots, but I got to have good duck hunting on it. I wish they did, because man, duck hunters will spend some damn money. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
they just man, it's crazy what a waterfowl hunter will spend on a good
Oh yeah.
and not
Yeah.
even necessarily that great of it. But I think I had somebody tell me, I'm like 90% sure I had somebody tell me not long ago that there was some dudes paying $50 an acre for some waterfowl ground. And I mean, if you take the clock back
Just for lease.
just to lease,
Oh yeah, that wouldn't even. I mean, how big an area were you talking about? I mean,
well, this was a big farm. I think it was like 100 acres.
oh yeah.
I mean, for to me, I'm like 50.
oh yeah, 'cause that'd be just 5,000. Oh god.
Yeah, that's way
man,
cheap.
That ain't even. That ain't.
See, that's crazy to me. If you reverse the clock back into like the 90s, there was people paying $50 an acre just to row crop it. So they're like farming it and actually making some money back, hopefully.
Oh
These dudes, like my own enjoyment and laughter is not worth $50 an acre to me. And I mean, unless it's just, I don't know, I'd have to really do some killing to
Yeah.
like justify that kind
I
of money.
just did some quick math. Which, of course, if you're renting a 100-acre farm to duck hunt, you're not, you probably got like, you may have one or two pits on it. So it's,
Yeah.
of course, you might have 5 acres of timber that is just a killer hole.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, I was just doing the math. Yeah, $100 an acre might even be closer to what.
That's
some of these
crazy,
places
man.
lease
That's
for.
crazy to me.
Yeah,
I need
I
to
mean,
find
and
some.
there's a lot of, different factors going into that. But oh yeah,
I
You hear
wouldn't.
about-
I'd never duck hunt
I
again.
was-
I'd lease every bit of it out. I
I was
wouldn't
talking
care
to
at
a
all
man about
it.
this today about some buddies and I have been looking at like, man, we just need to buy somewhere. You find these spots and it's 200 acres of flooded timber, $3 million.
Yeah. If it's got duck hunting on it, they're gonna
It's-
jack the price of the sky.
And of course, I always laugh at my buddy. I'm like, why are you even sending me this?
Yeah.
I was like, I could do the math. Like, we got to have 6 figures each. That's split it 4 ways just for the down payment. I was like, buddy, I don't know who you think you're talking to.
Eastern North Carolina's actually got some pretty historic duck hunting, right? There was like the Rockefellers had their duck camp, which was a mansion out on the Outer Banks and stuff. And
Yeah.
if you look around go to Google Earth and look around Lake Matamesquite area, every big row cropper out there, there's some big row cropping land out there. Everyone's got a lot of impoundments. And I bet they make as much money revenue-wise. I know they do, leasing impoundments. Because you can buy a 5-acre impoundment. Lease you and your buddies can lease it for the year for probably 10, 15 grand.
Wow.
Full access for all duck season. If you go on the Google, you'll start seeing these really little squares of water all around Lake Matamesquite on the row cropping side. And that's what they're trying to do is pull those ducks off of they'll loaf on the lake and they'll try to pull them into those corn impoundments. And that's where they'll hunt them in the mornings and the evenings. And it is a lucrative business.
Man, yeah. Like I said, I wish I had some of that. Yeah, because I don't care about hunting it. I enjoy duck hunting. It's not that I don't like it, but I'm a deer hunter. Like, I like to deer hunt primarily. But if someone was like, man, you can make an extra, 15 grand off of these things, I'd be like, shit, I don't care about duck hunting that place that bad.
All right, I got your business model. You're gonna dike and levee your river bottom land. Then you're gonna cover crop it, and you're gonna graze cattle on it, and you're gonna get paid. Somebody's gonna pay you to graze your cows, and then whatever the last turn is, you're gonna leave standing for duck season. Then you're gonna flood it. Then you're gonna have a Landtrust listing to have your duck hunting hole.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm game. Game.
You just need a friend with a bulldozer, I guess.
I got one.
But let's
I was about to
go.
say,
I got 2 track hoes and a bulldozer. Let's go.
You have no excuse. I'll email the business plan tomorrow.
I'll be watching.
which bad thing about it is, a lot of us love to duck hunt, and we've been talking about we really ought to go down there and fix up
we got a spot. We need to fix
couple
up.
places that are in the river
Yeah.
bottom, but it's just like we talk about it, and never do it.
Yep. Yep.
And,
No, and that would be, it's funny. I say all this, but if I like went and did this, and then all of a sudden, like I'm down there one day and I see like just the sky is black with ducks and they're coming in there, then I'd be like, I don't know. I'd kind of like to be down there.
well, that's the thing. Like, my couple of properties, I'm like, well, the deer hunting and the turkey hunting, I'm like, I really like the deer and turkey hunting.
No, I mean,
I got a couple of like buddies that I let hunt with me too, and
Well, that's what I was thinking. I got buddies that I let hunt every land that I don't hunt. I let buddies hunt it, and I don't charge them anything.
yeah.
And I'm like, damn, I'd have to hurt their feelings then. I'd be like,
Yeah.
man, yeah,
we
Well,
do.
that's the thing. Like, I like to hunt just about everything.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I could lease out the rabbit and coon hunting rights. I don't do those sorts.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I turkey and deer hunt, but the one thing I know I don't do is shoot enough does. And I've been like,
Yeah.
man, you know what I should do is like put up a nice box blind, and then just do
Doe only?
youth and first time hunters only, and doe only.
Yeah.
So like, have a spot for a kid and his, a kid and his dad, because I should probably take 10 does off this piece of ground every year,
Yeah.
year. And I think most of us are probably guilty of that. But same thing, I think, just on the farming side, we have doe only, we have a lot of people that just have doe only or cow elk only, experiences. We have a guy in Nebraska who uses Landtrust as a tool, for deprivation. Basically, he has a bunch of pivots, and you can hunt a cow elk for $25. You have to buy your
Wow.
tag, but that's what he charges through Landtrust. And he just wants so many people to come and keep the pressure on those elk to keep them driven off his pivots, which is
I work a farm that last year they killed. There's a group of guys that hunt this place, and last year the deer ate about 15 acres of my beans just up,
Yeah.
and they killed 30 or 40 deer off of it last year, and the year prior to that they also killed 30 to 40 deer.
Yeah.
And this year it probably needs another 20 to 30 deer killed off of it. It was a lot better this year, but that's what I'm like, man, we still need to you need to just slaughterhouse like 20 to 30 more. And so as a dude's thinking like that, because I got several farms where honestly you probably could kill 15 to 20 does off of the place. And yeah, doing a doe only hunt, that'd be something I would definitely consider doing,
Yeah.
because I want the bucks for me, man. I want that big buck for me. Sorry, guys, but I'm a little stingy when it comes to the big bucks.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we leave it all up to the landowners, and we do have a lot of landowners that do like limited hunts. So, what's interesting is when people figure out that they can make good money, they don't want to see that resource go away, right? So let's say it's
Yeah.
turkeys, and you have like 6 toms, where you're like, well, we don't want to. If there's 6 toms, maybe I only want to allow 3 hunts, and I'll just raise my price, allow 3 hunts, and when they're booked, that's it. And we have a lot of people, that's how they handle their upland game or all their game species, is they just, we're telling people right now to call Josh, which is our customer service guy, and adjust their listings based off what they see and do exactly that.
That's fascinating, man. That's definitely something I'm gonna consider.
Yeah,
For sure.
Check it out. We, you guys are probably like, you're like me in that there's probably a lot of people close within an hour in some direction, and of those people, there's people with access issues, and it's just a good way to solve it and protect yourself. That's the biggest thing.
Yep, for sure,
Yep.
sure. Well, you want to cue up our man?
Our man. So this is his last official day
Oh,
or podcast as our commander in chief.
It is. Oh man, that makes me a little sad for him. Yeah.
I feel honored.
Yes, you get the honor of which I think we're going to keep him as the voice of this segment because it's just so good, man.
Yeah,
It's just so.
I don't know if this is true or not, so I might just be spreading lies on your podcast. But right before my wife went to bed, she said that he put the kibosh on the TikTok ban.
Oh, really? So they're not going to ban TikTok?
Hey, look, my wife said it in passing before she went to bed, but that's what she said that he did specifically. That was his last hurrah.
January 19th is supposed to be the day, so I guess we'll find out.
I guess
we'll
will
find out.
Yeah, TikTok is one thing I've never done. So
I'm on there, but I'm on there just pretty much for marketing purposes more than anything.
no. Well, here we go.
Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America. Let me start off with 2
You didn't
words.
get him quick enough. He went
Technology.
twice.
Technology gets me.
All right, Taylor, we like to put our guests on the spot.
All right.
Whenever we have a guest. So, made in America, man, is there anything that stands out to you as a made in America product or company, whatever, that you'd put your stamp of approval on?
Man, that's ironic. These headphones actually are made in America. I didn't plan
Really?
this. Yeah. My birthday was a couple days ago, and she got me
Yeah, hey, I meant to say happy birthday
Yeah,
to
happy
you.
birthday
Yeah.
to you.
these. So, as a guy that
Made
grew
in
up
America headphones.
working on race cars and shooting guns, I realized, like, I probably did not. I know I didn't protect my hearing very well.
Yeah.
And I'm always listening to podcasts, and she got me these Elgin USA. These are
Okay.
actually like noise canceling headphones, Bluetooth.
I'm making a note of this.
Yeah, I am too.
They're made
Elgin, Elgin.
Yep. Man, I want to say they're made in like Fort Worth or Texas. I swear I saw. Yeah, but designed in Fort Worth, Texas. But I've only worn them for 2 days now, and I happen to. They're good noise cancelers, so I plugged in for this, and so far I really like them.
Well, that's awesome, man. Dude, you can't hardly ever find, like, I feel like stuff like headphones and that kind of tech stuff, you don't hardly ever find it made in USA.
I agree.
Yeah.
Dang, that's awesome, man. Well, there you go. Elgin. Is it Elgin or Elgin?
I don't know.
Hell, I don't either.
Whatever
Yeah.
you want it to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just say it with confidence.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Elgin USA, Elgin Rebel. Is that what those were?
I'm wearing the Rampage, but I think
I was
the
about to say,
Rampage.
it looks like the Rampage here. Yeah.
Man, they got all kinds of different headphones and stuff.
Good deal.
And the price ain't that bad.
No.
Nice. So I guess they're Bluetooth? Yeah, Bluetooth.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm just plugged into the microphone, but I've been rocking Bluetooth all day. I've been wearing them as earmuffs. It's been so cold.
There you go.
Heck yeah, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, there you go, guys. Check them out. Taylor, I got to thinking, I don't even think we said your last name at the start, so people are like, I don't know who the Taylor guy is we're talking to. I feel like they probably put it together by now off of all your credentials, but this is Taylor Moyer that we had on the show. Taylor, man, it's been awesome chatting with you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You got to get down here so we can get you in studio.
Absolutely. I will. Next time I'm through that part of the world, I'll make sure I book an appointment.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do it. We don't know where the studio will be, but we'll have you in.
Yeah, we're trying to get it moved.
Logan has moved. The studio has not, so.
So
Might be moving in the morning.
is that why you do it at night? So you sold the house and now you just sneak back in the evening?
Yeah, the people don't know I'm out here. Yeah, they don't know I'm out here. Yeah, no, it is hopefully moving in the morning. But man, yeah, we'd love to have you in studio. I think we could easily do another long episode.
Oh, you could do a whole episode on Landtrust. You could do a whole episode.
I'd love to dig back down into the racing.
Yeah, here's some NASCAR stories that have never seen the light of day.
Yeah.
We've got plenty of those.
Well, man, Taylor, we appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can check out what you're doing and see what you're up to, and Landtrust and all that. Give us the rundown.
Yeah, for sure. Landtrust.com, Landtrust_hunt on Instagram, or on Facebook. I think it's Landtrust, the Outdoor Recreation Access Network or something. And then the easiest way to get me is just go to Ridgeview Land and Cattle. That's our farm, and I'm pretty active there. But that or Taylor C. Moyer on anything. Yeah, I love to talk ag with people. It's truly my passion, which is cool. So anytime I find somebody to shoot the shit with, we'll talk.
There we go.
Right on. All right, man. Well, we appreciate you, and everybody listening. You need to go check out one last time. You go on there to agzaga.com and get you some of them Copperhead underwear. I ain't looked to see if they still got them. I'm assuming they do. Didn't they have a big Copperhead? Like had a big Copperhead right where your wiener would be?
You mentioned that.
Did you get a pair?
No, but today would have been the day I needed to.
Uh-oh, would you shit your pants or something? Needed new
No,
underwear?
it's a long story, and we're at the end of the podcast. I sliced.
Oh, I saw you cut yourself or
I
something.
sliced my leg open today. Not bad, bad enough I needed stitches.
Oh, damn.
And so I was doing YouTube shit, and I was like, well, was like, I'm putting this shit on YouTube. And so my wife was, she was saying, she's like, oh my God. I was like, I'm wearing my underwear still. You know how perfect that would have been if I had on the zag underwear.
Dude, yeah, you missed a golden opportunity.
Yeah, I was just wearing this regular old.
Did you stitch it on camera?
I did a little stitching on the camera.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you stitched it yourself.
But it's just when you said that, I was like, man, that would have been such a great marketing opportunity.
And smoking a cigarette.
In the vet office, yeah.
Yeah, in the vet office. Did you drink like a drink before you did? Make it like kind of cool?
A little lidocaine.
Put a little dirt on it so it's not even clean.
A little lidocaine. Man, it just hit me when you said that. I was like,
there you go. See, if Bobby Lee had gotten on there and bought them copperhead underwear,
yeah, he
could have had them in that
video.
But
I did buy my bail net wrap, and I cut myself with the hay knife.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So I made sure I pointed out. I was like, it was my fault. But anyway, yeah, sorry.
There you go. Well, y'all use that code Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word. Try to not cut your leg off.
Yeah, if you do buy the hay knife, I highly recommend it. Just be careful with it.
It's apparently sharp. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. We appreciate you for tuning in. We ask that you leave us a rating and review, and we will catch you next week.